Hey guys, welcome to Tech Notebook, and in this video I will be showing you how to make an intro graphic that looks something like this. So, let's get started. Okay, so right here we have an empty project, and what we'll now need to do is to drag down a Fusion composition. So to get to this tab, you will need to go to Effects Library, then go to Effects, and bring down a Fusion composition. So now you want to extend this Fusion composition to about 20-ish seconds, and we'll need to right-click it and click Open in Fusion Page. So right now in our Fusion page, you see that there is a Media Out node. We can just drag this off to the side. So we will need to now drag in a bunch of background and rectangle nodes, 4 to be exact. So the reason why we're doing this is because we will need different rectangle and background nodes for each of the components on our monitor. We'll need one for the screen, one for the chassis, and then 2 for the stand. So let's do that right now. So we have our background node, let's drag that right here, and we have our rectangle node. So we have that right here. Let's select it all, copy it, and then just paste it a few times. And let's bring all of this in one line. And now we'll need to drag in a bunch of merge nodes to merge all of these elements together. So we will drag the background one output into the foreground, which is green. We'll drag the second one into the background, which is yellow. And we'll need to create another merge. So we'll drag that right there. And we'll have this rectangle right here, 1, 2. We'll have that in the foreground, and we'll have rectangle 1, 3 in the background. So as you can see, here is our node tree so far. And so now what we'll need to do is get another merge and merge these two together. So we can put the top one in the foreground, which would be green, and put the bottom one in the background, which would be yellow. Let me just check if I'm missing anything. I don't think so. So now what we'll need to do is to click on our background. And before that, we will need to drag our this merge. We'll need to drag that into one of our viewers. So now, as you can see, we have 2 rectangles. So if I move one aside, you'll be able to see that there are actually 2. We bring that back to default. We'll now need to go into our background and change one of them to a bluish color. So we'll just set it to something like that. You can pick whatever color you want for this. I just like this color, so I'm going to use it. So we have this blue, and what we'll now need to do is to go to the second one and make this a gray. So we'll drag this up, and as you can see down here, this is like a sort of gray color. So let's select that. Now we need to go to the second rectangle, rectangle 1_1, and we will need to expand it a tiny bit around what the current rectangle is. So we'll just increase the width slightly, something like that'll do, and we'll do the same with the height. And that looks about good. You can play around with these parameters right here and change it to whatever you want if you want a different appearance. So now what we'll need to do is to bring both of these up a tiny bit. So to do that, we'll need to tweak the center value right here for both of these rectangles. I'm going to make this 0.65 and 0.65. Yeah, that looks good. So now we'll need to go on to our second pair. So we'll just press this circle right here, and we'll need to drag this merge node into the viewer. So now we can see that there are 2 more black rectangles like before. So this will be the base of our monitor, the stand. So for one of them, it needs to be like a narrow piece, and another one, it needs to be a wide piece, like the base. So what we'll do for this rectangle 1_2, we'll make that the narrow one. So we'll just shrink that down a bit. And we'll also need to make this background gray. So I will do that by clicking on this and just bringing up this value a tiny bit. Now you can see this is gray, and we'll need to apply the exact same value to the other one. So I'm just going to copy this hex value and paste it in right here. Okay, now we have both of them in a gray shade. So we'll go to this first rectangle, and we will move this up. So we need to tweak our Y value, move that up. And for the second rectangle, we will need to bring this Y value down a bit and shrink the height significantly. That looks fine. And let's also shrink the width, since this base won't be that wide. Okay, so now we need to press this circle and show the entire picture. So this is what we have so far. Let's go down a bit. Well, let's bring this rectangle down a bit. So we'll just bring down our Y value. And then we have another rectangle hiding behind our monitor. So we will also bring that one down. And we can also reduce the height of this and bring it down a bit further. So now if I deselect everything, you can see that this sort of resembles a monitor. So now we will need to get our text under this. So what we'll do, we'll drag this text plus node right here. And we will also need actually no, I don't think we'll need anything else. So we can drag this and connect it to this output, and it should automatically create another merge for us, like that. And so what we'll do is in here, we'll need to type in any text that we want. I'm going to type in tech notebook. There we go. And if we view this merge by dragging it up here, you can see that the tech notebook is shown right in the center of the screen. And we want it kind of under the monitor. So I'm just going to bring this down. Okay, so to do that, we will need to have this text node selected, and we'll need to go into the second tab. And right here we have this layout, and we have our center with an X and Y input. So we'll just need to reduce the Y to the point where it's under the stand. And we'll need to increase the size a tiny bit until we're happy. I'm going to increase the tracking a slight bit as well. That looks nice. And that's it for all the elements. Now we will need to do the animation, because you saw that the monitor basically assembled itself. And right now, let's just connect this media out node so that we don't forget it when we do this later. So now we just need to animate these rectangles, and we need to move them around. So let's start off with our base. So what we'll want is for the base to just fade in. So let's start somewhere around frame 5. So I'm moving the frames by just pressing the arrow keys. And we want it to be transparent. We don't want to be able to see anything right now. And we'll need to just click this dot to keyframe it. So let's have the fade in period of 5 frames. So we'll just move forward about 5 frames, and we're now at frame 10. And we'll need to press this button again and crank this slider all the way up to 1. And now you can see that we have the base again. So now as you can see, it appeared. So if we go back a few frames, you can see that at about frame 5, we don't see anything. But as we go on, the base slowly fades in. So we'll basically need to do it for all of this except our monitor screen. So let's go to rectangle 1_2. And now let's start at frame 15. So go ahead 5 frames. So at frame 15, we need to press this dot again. Bring the level all the way down so we can't see anything. And then let's advance a few frames. So frame 20, bring the slider all the way up to 1. And now we will need to go to the monitor chassis. Make sure we're on frame 25 since we're leaving a 5-frame gap between each of the elements appearing. So we have our pointer on frame 25. We'll need to press this keyframe button and bring the level all the way down to 0. So now we can't see the monitor body. And we'll need to again go ahead 5 frames. Now we're on frame 30 and we need to have the body visible. So for the monitor screen, I had it so that the monitor screen just zooms to fit inside that chassis. So to do that, we'll first need to right click on width while we're on rectangle 1, by the way. So we need to right click on width and click expression. So now we need to get this plus and drag from that plus down to height. And as you can see, the height field has populated into here. Okay, so the reason why I did this was so that whenever we change the height slider, the width will change alongside it. So we don't need to change 2 sliders. We only need to change 1. So what we'll now need to do is to crank this height slider all the way up to 1 so it covers the entire screen. We will also need to skip forward about 5 frames, and we will keyframe the height. And what we'll also need to do is to set the level equal to 0, and we'll also keyframe that. So now we'll skip ahead about, let's say, 7 frames. So we'll be on frame 42. And we'll need to make this level slider equal to 1 and this height slider equal to 0.5. So now you can see that the display only covers the bit that we want it to. So now let's go and watch this back and check if it's okay. So one recommendation I have for you is, if your playback is pretty slow, is you need to go into your playback, go into proxy mode, and click half or quarter resolution. So this will basically mean that it'll only render half the resolution in your current viewer, but when you are actually outputting it in the deliver panel, it will render out at full resolution. So we'll just press play here, and that looks pretty good. So now we need to animate our text. So for our text, you see we have the tech notebook right here. And our animation for the screen and the entire monitor ends at frame 42. Let me go back to 42. So we'll skip ahead to, like, say, frame 55, and we'll start animating our text. So at frame 55, first you'll need to select the text. And so you'll need to be on frame 55, and when you do that, you'll just need to click this keyframe button on right on and drag the slider all the way down. So what dragging the slider does is it basically controls how much of the text is visible currently. So at frame 55, we won't have any text visible, but by frame, let's say, 80, we need to see all the text. So we'll drag this right on slider all the way to the end. And so now let's play it back again. And so right here we have the monitor animation, and we also have the animation for our text. So we should be good on the Fusion page now. So let's go back to our edit page. And make sure you save it right now. Now is a good time to save because crashes can happen and you don't want to lose your work. So we need to drag the fusion composition up one line, and we need to drag in a solid color, which we can find in the generator section of the effects library now. We'll drag down a solid color. Okay, so now what we're going to do is to finish up our edits on the actual edit timeline. So the first thing we'll need to do is to get a background for this, and to do that we'll need to go into the effects library, go to generators, bring down a solid color element, drag it and expand it to the size of the fusion composition, and you'll just want to click on solid color and go to the inspector right here. And so for color, you can pick any color you want. I'm going to try something like, let's see, how does this color look? It's a bit too light. That color looks pretty good. So let's press OK. And so now that we've got our background, we'll need to add in the Technobook logo that pops up in the middle. So the Technobook logo in my video pops up around, like right around here. So I'm going to go into my media pool, and I have the Technobook logo right here. You can put any image if you want. And if you don't want any image, you can skip out on that too. And so we'll need to go into the effects library now to bring in an additive dissolve so that the logo just fades in. We'll just need to drag it here, and we'll need to expand this to the end of the clip. And we'll need to drag these additive dissolves on top of all the elements. There we go. And finally, if we go to the part where this logo is visible, you can see that this the logo is like covering the entire screen. So we'll just need to zoom out and change the position. And right now you can see that the color is actually pretty bad on here. So to fix that, we'll just go click this and go to the color tab, and we will drop the contrast and the pivot, and now we have a black logo. So we'll come back, and that looks pretty nice. So let's play this. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.